So we have this unenviable task of keeping you awake after lunch, about 1 hour after lunch, very comfortable people are sitting. So my panelists, we have a tough task ahead of us. That one, we are running way behind time, as you know. And also we have to keep it fast enough so that people can stay a little awake. Coffee is just outside. In case you want to grab a coffee and come back, that's totally fine. Right, I will start off. My name is Arpit. This is a firm called Blume Ventures, which is an early stage venture capital firm. Over the last 14 years of our existence, we've invested in a lot of deep tech companies and have built a bunch of name for ourselves in early stage climate tech investing. Some of our companies which are popular are Battery Smart, Euler Motors, Yulu, and so on. And you will be able to, I will talk more about them as we go along. With my panel, very quickly, it will be useful to hear from Amit this side. 30 seconds, quick background, and what does your firm do?
Hello everyone, my name is Amit Mehta. I'm managing partner at Asha Ventures. Asha Ventures is an early growth stage fund investing across themes of sustainability, healthcare and financial services. We're currently investing out of $100 million fund. In terms of sustainability, we've invested across sustainable manufacturing, waste management, and innovative equipment for cooking. Those are.
Hello, appreciate the opportunity to share my views in this session. My name is Milind, Kulkarni, Chairman and CEO of Renaissance Solar and Electronic Materials. We are in the process of setting up India's only merchant crystal growth and wafer factory. We expect to start production in first half of 2027. So we have around 14 people already from 5 different countries and 3 different continents. And we like to believe that we have one of the best teams in the world in this sector, definitely best outside China. So look forward to sharing my views with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hi everyone, this is Mukul, Jain. Along with my co-founder Dr. Praveen Gini, we have just founded a company into fusion energy space. The name is Anubal Fusion, and we are basically chasing the objective of energy abundance, and we'll talk more about it during the course. I'll try to keep it short. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon everyone, I'm Shantanu, I'm part of Transition Venture Capital. We're a climate and decarbonization focused early stage VC fund. We invest in the intersection of energy, decarbonization and deep tech in the sectors like EVs, energy storage, the complete hydrogen value chain, carbon value chain, decarbonization of buildings and industry. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, my name is Viraraghavan. I head a company called GreenJoules. We are a slightly different biofuel company. We make from agricultural waste the crude that is internationally traded. So we are able to make a crude that is absolutely similar, from which you can then, the downstream side, extract anything you want, aviation fuel, diesel, petrol and so on. Talk more about it later.
Fantastic. Thank you, panelists, for keeping it very short. I will jump in straight into the questions. I have a question for you, Milind, first. The question is, you have been in the sector for a long time. I know you were part of Reliance for a while and so much experience of powering technology. My question is, what is the, if you reflect on the last, let's say 20, 25 years of your career, what you see has changed and what probably remains the same?
Thank you very much for the question. Maybe my answer will surprise some of you. Obviously, I can talk about the entire renewable energy space, but most of the impact is coming from the solar value chain, and my expertise also lies in this area. So let me talk about solar value chain. And in general, what I'm saying is generally applicable to other areas because this is the nature of the technology sector. Particularly, silicon sector has very unique nature. In most cases, technology platforms do not change. But on the existing technology platforms, manufacturing roadmap execution, which is a manufacturing activity that requires R&D like core competencies, delivers changes that are far greater than new emerging technologies can deliver. For example, you saw in Pratik's presentation 4 nodes of solar value chain, starting from polysilicon production, crystal growth, wafering, cells and modules. I submit to you in last 60 years, technology platform of making polysilicon and technology platform of making crystal growth and wafering has not changed. But there has been more than order of magnitude reduction in cost, more than an order of magnitude improvement in performance. This has happened because of the technology roadmap execution, for which I think India still is not culturally ready. So these are manufacturing activities that you do without much capex investment. When we talk about China improving everything so much, it is not inventing everything from the scratch. China has learned from the West and actually Japan and other countries how to execute silicon roadmap. Now when we talk about cells and modules, yes, there has been a significant technology platform churn. But I also like to actually share with you that unit operations used in the production of cells have not changed much at all. These are standard wet processes and thermal processes. But if you really actually want to look at actually where the industry is headed, first let me actually talk about economics. I expect prices to come down, the true production prices to come down at least by 50%. Productivity of the same equipment to go up by at least 3 times. That means LCOE, which is around 2 to 2.5 rupees per unit today in India, if we execute actually this roadmap, will be 1 rupee per unit. It can be even lower. And this is possible on the same technology platform. Now what is happening, there isn't going to be much change in polysilicon production and crystal growth and wafering. As far as the cell technology is concerned, obviously multi actually became mono. Then aluminum BSF technology gave way to PERC. In 1 year in 2023, PERC lost its market share and now TOPCon is actually dominating at around 60-65% market share. PERC is disappearing. Heterojunction has always remained a niche market. Possibly various back contact architectures will appear, and there is actually very significant research going on in so-called actually perovskite materials. They have very special quality where you can create perovskite silicon tandems and really take your efficiency to 35-36%, theoretical efficiency is around 43%. So as far as the upstream solar value chain is concerned, R&D type core competencies will actually take it further. And downstream in cells and modules, there is a significant technology churn, but fundamentally unit operations remain the same. But please actually watch out for continuous change. If we do not figure out how to actually manage this in manufacturing floor, because these are technology centric processes, we will never be able to compete with China. Just to extend, sorry, I'll take last 10 minutes, just to extend actually the answer Pratik gave. Today, solar manufacturing is surviving in India primarily because of government support. Our cost of production is not competitive with Chinese. Our efficiencies, performance, yields are not competitive with Chinese. And if we simply extrapolate the way we are operating, we will never be competitive with Chinese. We should soon learn how to execute silicon roadmap. That means there has to be very, very strong technology team. And this is not R&D. These people have R&D like core competencies, and we need to learn how to execute the roadmap. That is the key for India to emerge as an option, an alternative to China, as a part of China plus one solution. And only India can emerge as an alternative to China. No other country independent of government policy can compete with China. India can. We have greatest actual institutions in the world,
Milind,
and best people graduating. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very, very useful as an anchor to the panel, because we're talking about innovation. What I hear you saying is that what does not change is technology is very, very important. It has to be invested in, which is where I want to come to two of our entrepreneurs on the panel, Mukul and Veera. Maybe Veera, you can go first. You have worked with larger companies and give birth to this company, which is a relatively smaller company. What is it that larger companies are unwilling or unable to innovate in Indian context as compared to, and why does all the innovation seemingly come from small company like yours and Mukul's?
Well, that's a lovely question, and I can tell you, being part of a global company and part of a global innovation department, that new to the world innovation is impossible in large companies. I think there are many reasons for this.
Only in India or across the world?
Across the world. reasons.
I mean, like Google and Meta have produced stuff, right?
Yeah, but more of the same, right? So now I'll just talk about that a little bit. So, you know, the top reason is that when you live quarter by quarter, you know, or sometimes internally even month by month, it is very difficult to continuously support a new innovation that requires a lot of financial outlay and whose end is fuzzy. I mean, somebody says in 3 years we'll do this, in 5 years we'll do this, there's no commitment. So any top CEO, and especially when the things are not going well and there's pressure on cost cutting, the thing that will go out of the window first is something that organization, the larger organization doesn't understand. And this is a very big reason. The second is, I think you look at all great organizations, how they make money. They make money on efficiency, they make money on processes, repetition and all that, right? So when innovation requires the complete opposite of this, it requires ideation, it requires risk-taking ability, it requires, all kinds of things that the organization that is making money and who's supporting this innovation is unable to understand. And I think the third and probably a more important reason is the fact that the person who is sent to head an innovation game, if it fails, what happens to that person? Typically, all high performers, people who the company sees as having a large future, are put into all these innovation jobs. And if they fail, what happens to the individual? So where you will see that after some time, individuals are not willing to risk their careers to do this. So I think there are many other reasons, but I think these top three would be my pick for why breakthrough innovation is not possible in large companies.
Thank you. I think this makes sense. So Mukul, you have worked very hard to bring a new technology to life. What has been your journey like?
Yeah, certainly very exciting. I mean, creating something new is very, very exciting because it is very, very fulfilling at the end of the day. When you get to work on technologies which you are convinced will bring a substantial change to the lives of people, that is something which is more than enough to keep you going. And the best part about innovation is that you deal with a new problem every day. And, you are in a mess. Not that I always like to be in a mess, but, you have to have that inclination to get yourself into a mess, solve it, come out of it. And, honestly, it's very fulfilling at the end of the day when something comes out. And these are the things which outlast you as an individual. So, that thought process is sufficient, is a big reward for anybody who's working in a deep technology sector.
Thank you. This is very useful. Coming to Shantanu, you have been working at deep tech companies, early stage companies. What is your observation when you meet early stage companies which are powering innovation? And what do you think where most of them fail at?
So thank you so much for the question. And I think specifically talking about deep tech, the challenge that I see is that there are major gaps. So when a novel technology or a novel science is prototyped or is conceptualized, it will not have any sort of meaning till it is mass produced, put into large scale manufacturing and given to the hands of a customer at a bulk. Because if a company is not able to translate a prototype into mass scale manufacturing, they will end up raising seed round after seed round after seed round and not get anywhere. So the challenge that I specifically see in deep tech, especially in India at an early stage, is the founder's ability, one, to understand what it takes to move from a prototype to mass scale manufacturing, and second, to execute. I mean, prototyping and manufacturing are two completely different animals, and when you go further back in the TRL chain, I think the gap becomes larger. When there is a fundamentally new science, maybe at a TRL 1 to 3, moving that to a TRL 9 is a huge gap, and that gap is something that's missing in the ecosystem. And I cannot expect founders to have everything laid out at a TRL 4-5, how they'll get to a TRL 9, but the ability to recognize and undertake that challenge, I think, is the gap.
Thank you. Amit, on this round, very important part is the role of capital markets. Very often we have seen, especially public markets and almost late stage private markets, which are pseudo public markets. You've seen that there is no appreciation or very limited appreciation of innovation. People like Shantanu and I am oriented towards technology. We like technology. We are in it. Of course, Mukul and Veera are building it. Would you think that market is ready for having innovative companies like, let's say, two of theirs, or market will only continue to benchmark on profitability and revenue and returns?
Sure. So, all of us have seen over the last couple of years how capital markets have embraced new age companies over the last 4 or 5 years. I think both sides over the last couple of years have learned to appreciate each other quite honestly. Most of the new age entrepreneurs who have got their companies listed have learned to appreciate what is it that capital market requires. It requires transparency, communication, guidance and adherence to that guidance. I think that's something that new age startups which have got listed, the founders have learned, some of them the hard way. Similarly, capital markets have learned to be more tolerant towards losses and burn for extended period of time. Having said that, interestingly, recently in a very different context, but Glenmark got a big upfront payment from AbbVie for an NC molecule which it out-licensed to them. Right? It's a $700 million upfront payment and a $1.7 billion transaction. That's a great example of very long-term incubation, getting rewarded. Never before has an Indian company seen something like this. So the market will also sort of get used to innovation getting valued and will probably start attributing value to it. Having said that, is there enough amount of capital in the private market which has the kind of patience that innovative companies require at this point in time? My sense is that at this point in time the depth of that capital is not there. But I would want to believe that over a period of time that pool will get deeper, and maybe in a decade or so we will have multiple pools of such capital which will appreciate purely innovative companies.
Thank you. Mukul, I want to come to you and talk about how has been your experience with investors and governments particularly, because a lot of what you do touches both sides.
Yeah, see, it has been very encouraging, if I summarize in a way. You see, we have been into this deep tech domain for over 10 years now. And this is the third venture that we are trying to do amongst the core group of founders that we have. Around 2014-15, when we used to talk, it was a task to convince ecosystem in general what we are trying to do. Because when you do deep tech, see, ultimately what is deep tech? Deep tech is something which is, you're trying to solve a very difficult problem which has not been solved till now. I mean, creating a website in early or late 90s was a deep tech. Today you can create a website in 5 minutes. So today we are talking about technologies which nobody has done, which probably are at TRL levels of 2 or 3. So you are actually trying to sell a promise. When you are selling a promise, the person needs to share the vision. The person needs to share, okay, what you are aiming at, what you are thinking about. Now, with that background, I can tell you there's a big change that we can see in the entire ecosystem. It's very easy to talk to government now. Government understands. Government has the willingness to look long term. When we talk to financiers or investors, investors are also very, very encouraging, open, but it comes with a note of caution because they are willing to take very calculated bets, right? So I don't think investors have a vision to fund something for next 20 years. So probably what they are very keen, and one question that keeps coming back to us as somebody having a deep tech venture is, will you ever run into a financing risk? Right. So what will get you next round of finance is something that any deep tech entrepreneur has to answer. And I'll just extend the point with what Amit said, that as investors, probably you have this liberty of thinking for next 5 years or 10 years. But as somebody who's running the venture, we don't have the liberty of thinking for next 5 years or 2 years. We have to take the project to the end. So if as Anubal Fusion we say, okay, we want to make electricity with fusion energy, my goal has to be clear on day zero. Now whether one investor wants to take bet for next 2 years, 5 years, that's their call. That's okay. But that doesn't deviate me as an entrepreneur from my vision, which is for next 20 years. So just to come back to that same point, I think it's very, very encouraging, I would say. And I think these are some fine times when we can see a lot of inputs getting aligned. So 10 years back, it was difficult to find good quality manpower. Any deep tech is based on manpower. The most important ingredient for any deep tech company is getting quality people. Now we see a lot of universities are coming up with courses which are unconventional. A lot of people are taking up courses which are unconventional. We see, we have just hired a person from foreign. The person who wants to relocate back, wants to contribute in the India fusion story. So those kind of, I would say, synergies are getting developed, and all I can say is very exciting times, but something where we have to play our bets very, very carefully. We cannot become careless, or we just cannot take things for granted. We have to be on our toes, but things are aligning for the good.
Thank you. Veera, coming to you, the rest of the ecosystem, large companies, investors, talent, and government, how has been your experience, and what can one do to improve the engagement and win in the ecosystem as it is today for an early stage deep tech company?
So we started out in 2018, and I think we were very naive. When we first produced our diesel, which is exactly equal to the fossil diesel, we thought there would be a queue outside the gate to buy our product, right? It was not so. So every customer that we went to, it was incredulity that this is not possible, and therefore no. So even getting the testing done was a major challenge. And I think what that has done, and I agree with much of what Mukul has said. So what that did was, by the time all of them got convinced, we were not ready. So there is always this gap between when the customer is ready and when you are ready, especially in deep tech innovation. On the investor side, we've been pretty lucky. We've got an early stage investor who's still with us. I don't want to name the investor in this office stuff. But the fact is that I think one of the things with the investor, and we just had one experience. When we started the company, the seed capital was provided more by friends and family. So the Series A investors who I'm talking about, I think they were the only ones we talked to, and we were able to sort of close the deal. I think one of the things that helped is that they have a similar vision, and I think they have people who understand the technology and so on. So I will not dwell on the investor bit beyond this. On the government side, again, I think as Mukul has said, things are changing quite significantly. But when you are doing a new to the world innovation, regulation will follow. And I think that's where your ability to first of all connect with the right government people, and then explain to them, convince them, and get things to change. I think the cycle is a long one. And I think this is where an entrepreneur like GreenJoules has to be prepared for a time period which perhaps less to do with the technology, less to do with the product, but more to do with the regulations, government, and such the like. So that's our experience.
Thank you. Milind, coming back to you, you have been looking at the ecosystem for a long time. How do you think what can the governments do better to support innovative companies coming out of India, especially in renewable energy?
Yeah, first of all, I should say Indian government has done a phenomenal job in supporting renewable energy.
No one in the government is listening, sir.
Oh,
Jain ji is not with government anymore.
No, it is a true statement, and I should clarify to you, I hold American passport, so I am telling you the truth. So, the Indian government has done a phenomenal job. In my view, without government support, we wouldn't have a renewable energy industry, particularly solar industry in India. The support has been so intelligent that now we are looking at PPAs of 2.15, 2.5 rupees per unit. And still in manufacturing, although we are next to China, we are not as good as China, but still actually we are getting there. So this has been a phenomenal actually journey in my view. But for us to actually close this gap, what government needs to do, in my opinion as a technocrat, it needs to actually create an ecosystem where technocrats have easier access to capital. So there is actually funding available in India for small startups. There is funding available in India for growth projects run by established companies. As you heard in the morning from SBI Caps, funding between 50 crores to 300 crores is not available in India. Most of the modular projects run by technocrats in this sector require this kind of funding. If you look at the most successful companies in China, Longi, which is the #1 solar company, most innovative actually solar company today, the best equipment company, Jingshan, Linton, these were all actually founded by technocrats, some of them by university professors. But they became successful because they had access to capital. But we don't have that access. So government can do various things. Maybe actually they can set up a quasi-sovereign funds which can invest in companies founded by technocrats, or so many actually other things to reduce the risk of actually private sector that will invest in companies founded by technocrats. Why it is important? You ask this question, why only small companies are innovating? This is true, but that is not necessarily what should happen in a mature solar industry. If you look at all the new technologies actually that are coming up in China, they are actually being done by big companies. So they are doing two things. They are executing the silicon roadmap. They are using same core competencies. They are also actually working on new technologies.
But sir, see, governments cannot do what private sector, government doesn't have hands. It can only create an enabling environment. Then the private sector has to walk in. The private sector is operating from their principles of profit or whatever. So there is limitation governments can do. They can put in a lot of taxpayer money and give grants. But then there is always CAG to balance it out. So it's reality, right? There is a 1 lakh crore scheme that we recently created, right? And please finish, and I want to ask Amit about it.
Right. Yeah. No, actually, I just have a couple of points. We are not saying that government should do everything. Right now, actually, whatever government can do to create an ecosystem where private sector can invest more in ventures like this, that helps. This is exactly what has happened in China. And innovation will have to actually come from both small companies as well as large companies. These are different types of innovations we are talking about. Because roadmap execution is the key for us to close the gap. And if we don't do it, as soon as the government support evaporates, we are still looking at buying modules from China. Yeah. If I linearly extrapolate where we are, I don't want to mention names, with the exception of one company. No Indian solar manufacturing company is building the right people groups, right technology groups to execute the roadmap. I mean, this is the fact actually. As a technologist, I see it. So, but we can close the gap, and this is our opportunity, and I think India has a huge opportunity. Yeah. Sorry, I'll take only 10 seconds. You know, to reach net zero by 2050, 70 terawatts of solar installations are required. In next 5 to 10 years, that means 3 terawatts per year. So India should be looking at exporting at least actually half a terawatt every year. This is the opportunity we are looking at. This is possible only if our performance reaches Chinese level. Thank you.
Thank you. Amit, I would like you to come in and talk about, there is a very large 1 lakh crore scheme which is possibly going to bridge the gap between 50 and 300 crores and maybe 300 to 3,000 crores and 3,000, 30,000 crores also. I don't know. I haven't seen really implementation of the scheme so far. But what has been your experience in broadly, do you think specifically looking at this sector, renewable energy broadly, do you think that is going to make it out of impact? And what more is really possible?
So, I mean, talking about the broad ecosystem for cleantech and renewable energy system, I think the ecosystem today is extremely conducive, whether it is in the form of entrepreneurial talent, innovation, availability of capital at early stage or regulatory support. Government, like all of us have acknowledged, has been extremely supportive of the sector and of innovation in this sector. There is increasingly capital is getting available at the early stage and at the deep tech stage for innovation in the sector. I won't say we are absolutely there for the deep tech sector, but I think government has absolutely taken cognizance of the fact that we need to invest in innovation, invest in deep tech, and besides the 1 lakh crore allocation, there are other government schemes also which sort of make sure that capital starts becoming available for deep tech innovation. So I would say there is increasingly early to growth stage capital being made available for deep tech innovation in these two sectors. Like Sir mentioned, the growth stage capital, private capital needs to be crowded in, and that will happen over the next decade is what my hope is. So I would say that's the last piece of puzzle that needs to come together, and then of course ultimately the proof of all of this will come in the form of exits either to capital markets or to through M&A activity, which I'm sure will sort of take place in the next 5 to 10 years.
Thank you. Okay, lastly, Shantanu, you have been with the ecosystem for a long time. You were part of an incubator earlier, now you're part of early stage VC. What more can we do to support the end-to-end growth of this ecosystem?
No, thank you, Arpit. See, the way that I've seen this ecosystem or multiple large companies in the space is that there are 3 segments. There is the fundamental research and innovation segment, that is TRL 1 to 3. There is a prototyping segment, which is using science to create a product which actually solves a problem, that is TRL 4 to 6. And then there is mass scale manufacturing, putting that product into the hands of thousands or lakhs or millions of customers, that is TRL 7 to 9. The problem that I see, or the challenge, the gap that I see in India, that these 3 things are driven by 3 different companies or 3 different entities, 3 different people. If you take large global companies, for example, if you take Google, Google does a whole lot of investing and work and time and effort in TRL 1 to 3. Then they do a whole lot of work in TRL 4 to 6. And obviously they do a whole lot of work in TRL 7 to 9, and that's one company. In India, we have distinctions. There are companies in TRL 7 to 9, there are companies in TRL 4 to 6, there are companies in TRL 1 to 3. As an ecosystem, as a company, as an institute, I think one company has to do it all, and there are, at least in my view, I don't think there are any ifs and buts. If you're a manufacturing company, you have to invest in fundamental innovation, you have to invest in new product development, and you have to invest in large-scale manufacturing. Otherwise, your existence is very, very fragile. You're not a long-term player. I mean, Google is a long-term player because they've got IPs that people haven't even thought about, which they're going to launch in the next 3 to 5 years, and that roadmap is clearly laid out. And they're also today in the market making billions of dollars of revenue. So as I think one single entity or as an ecosystem, I think there is a huge gap in these 3 segments, in between research, in between new product development, and in between large-scale manufacturing. And I think that gap needs to be bridged. I think we're getting there. I think people like Anubal are coming up that are moving from 1 to 3 to 4 to 6 and hopefully eventually to 7 to 9. But a lot more needs to happen in each and every segment.
Thank you. I'm not sure how much time we have, but I'm happy to take 1 or 2 questions from the audience in case anyone has something. No questions? Yes, sir. You're asking a question about technology? Yes, Mr. Sankaran. What do you want to know about SAF, sir? Yeah, I think you can take that question offline.
We can take that offline.
Yeah, I'm sure Mr. Sankaran is happy to help. Anyone has a question for the rest of the panel? Okay. I think we're done. Thank you everyone for listening to us patiently, and thank you for not sleeping.